Alright, hey everyone, I just wanted to have a little bit of a ramble about the gacha system in Enfield as compared to other games such as Mihoyo games like Zenless Zone Zero and the games that copy their gacha system. Now, Enfield's system is clearly inspired, let's say, by Mihoyo's typical gacha system, so I think that's why it's a good comparison to start with. But there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not the gacha in this game is free-to-play friendly or if it's not. Now, I have mostly free-to-play. I did buy some of the bundle packs here just for fun. Please excuse me just randomly clicking around. This is my ADHD. But what I wanted to talk about isn't so much the concept of how much you can earn in the game and whether or not you can get Levitain, for instance, but sort of how the gacha actually feels as compared to the Mihoyo games. So I see a lot of talk about how many rolls you can earn, and you can see here I have a bunch of rolls. I have what is it, that's 130 and then another 20, so probably maybe 150, 160 all up. I'm not doing good math here, but I got 160 or something. I haven't really rolled on the Levitain banner. I did the free rolls, and then I think I did another 10 roll because I had a guaranteed 5-star, and I also did a bunch of the basic rolls, of course, and most of this was free, but I think I bought 1 or 2 bundles as well, and you can see I've got 178 headhunting attempts left for the 300, so I guess I've done about 122. So I've done a bunch of rolls, and I got a little bit lucky. I got a couple of 6 stars from the basic, and I got a 6-star from the free headhunting banner right at the start where you get 40 rolls. So anyway, this discussion isn't really about how much you get, but if you want to know how much you get, of course, there's enough to get Levitain if you want. Now, questions of the role economy, we can't really answer those until we've got the end game, and unfortunately, there's no end game in the game right now. Now, I think I'm kind of critical of the fact that there's no end game in the game right now because there's not that much to do, at least for me, just dailies, but I think this is the calendar. Yeah, so I think it's going to start basically on the 12th, so more than a week away at this stage. A week and a half away is when we're going to get the end game. So at that point, we'll see how many rewards we're getting from the end game, and next week we'll also get these limited time events like the single run events, and I guess we'll see how much we're getting from that. And so until we know how many rolls we're getting from that, we won't know exactly how good the roll economy is. That being said, the chances are that the roll economy are bad are very low, because even if after all of these events are through, we're wow, we didn't really get many rolls from that, what will happen is people will complain and people will start leaving the game, and they will adjust. They will increase the amount of rewards we're getting. But the thing is, I think, they've done their homework. They've probably looked at how many rolls people are getting in other games. And, they've clearly built their gacha system inspired by other games, like the Mihoyo games. So they're probably going to do a similar thing where you're going to be getting a similar amount of rolls. And maybe that'll be enough. Maybe it won't be. Maybe I'll have to adjust that up or down. But chances are it's not going to be too unfair. So I don't think we have much to worry about there. But the thing that I wanted to talk about in this video, which has taken a while to get to, isn't how many roles there are, but what is the strategy and what is the gameplay experience of the strategy of playing the gacha, of saving your rolls and so on. So for every gacha game you play, you are going to, especially if you're free to play and you're not going to spend unlimited money, you are going to have a limited amount of the paid resources. You're going to have a limited number of rolls, and a limited number of crystals or whatever. And because of that, you are going to have to plan how you spend your currency. Now, to give an example, let's take Zenless Zone Zero as an example. I use that as an example because I play that game. I don't know if I should actually get the window up here. Should I get Zenless up? I don't know. But basically, in Zenless Zone Zero, like all the other Mihoyo games, the way that banner works is that you have a soft pity that increases from like 70 or something, or maybe it's 65, I don't know, but increases from like around 70 up to like 80 or 90, and chances are you are never going to have to roll past 80. I think it might be 80 actually. That is the guarantee off the top of my head. So the point is, at 80 you get your 50-50. You either win the character or you don't, and if you don't, then you have to go through that process again, and chances are, because the rates are so low, you are going to take another 80. Now it turns out, if you do the math, the average is somewhere around like 120, because you could get it early before the first pity, you could get it early after the first pity, and so it turns out that the expectation value is something like just past the 80. It's like 100 or 110 or 120. So you're not really expected to go all the way up to the 160, but if you really, really, really love a character and you really, really absolutely want them to get that character, you need to save 160, right? Now, if we compare that to Endfield, there's a guarantee at 120, so it's a bit sooner, but again, you can't exactly compare one roll to one roll. You don't know that necessarily what the roll economy is going to be like, but on the face of it, it seems like Enfield's a little bit more generous there. But here's the other thing. In the Mihoyo games, you also have the weapon banners. And the weapon banners in the Mihoyo games are exactly like normal banners. They're exactly like the other limited banners. So you could imagine that instead of having just Levitain here, you would have Levitain here with, the same currency that you're using to roll Levitain, and then you would have, imagine this is Levitain's weapon, and you would have the exact same currency to roll on that. So if you really, really wanted a character and their signature weapon, then you would have to have enough for the hard pity on the character banner, but then you'd also have to have enough for the hard pity on the weapon banner. Now, what that means is, although you do have a high chance of getting the limited weapon in the Mihoyo games, in Zenless it's 75-25. I don't know what it is in the other games. I assume it's similar or the same. So you have a 75% chance of winning the weapon, so you've got a pretty good chance, but you can still get that 25%. So what that means is the feeling of saving for a character, or the feeling of implementing your resource management strategy for your, Aura Barrels, or in Zenless case, what is it called? They're called, I can't even remember what master tapes and stuff. Your, whatever the tapes are called. Saving those resources. The feel of it is as such. Essentially, you're gonna realize that a character is coming up, like maybe, Miyabi, the Void Hunter, is teased, and you're like, damn, I love Miyabi, she's amazing, I really want her, and I want her weapon because she's that fucking cool, I want her to be my best character on my team. Well, in that case, in that moment, the moment you decide that that's the character you want, you are going to have to make sure that you have 320 rolls saved up for that character and that character's signature weapon. And the reason why you need to do that is in the worst case scenario that you lose the 50-50 on the character and you lose the 75-25 on the weapon, and you have to go to double 80 pity for both of them, right? It's not super likely to happen. However, it does happen. Like, I've been playing Zenless since release, and it's happened maybe once or twice for me. I think it's happened once that I've lost the character and had to go to basically 80 twice, or like 75 about both times, and then I've lost the I've gotten the weapon at 75, so won the weapon but lost the character, so that's, still something like 160 or 150, let's say, plus another 75 rolls, so it's going to be 225 rolls. And I've had it happen that I've lost the signature weapon banner as well, and had to do like around about 75, so 150 times 2 to 300 rolls, about 300 rolls to get what I wanted, and that really sucked. And I think a lot of people who play the Mihoyo games, unless they're very dedicated, they probably don't actually save up 320 rolls. I think most of the time they save up maybe 200, maybe 250 rolls if it's their favorite character, and they just sort of expect that they're not going to lose the 50-50. And I think that's exactly what happened for me with Ye Shunguan, where I was like, I got like 200, 240 rolls or something like that. I really hope I get her and the weapon. And then I lost her I lost her at 75. I lost her at 75 again. So that was, I got her at 75. So that was 150 rolls just for Ye Xiongguan. And then I lost on the banner as well, the weapon banner as well. So, and then I had to like convert everything. I had to convert all my, refund currency, and then I think I had to pay a bit at the end as well to finally get the weapon. And so that whole process was shit. It sucked. And the strategy, implementing the strategy of, the instant I see this cool character that I want and that I want the weapon of, I'm going to need to save 320 rolls. That is not a fun experience. I just have to start hunkering down and like resisting temptation and being like, absolutely do not roll this character. You need the next character. You need to have 300 rolls. And probably I won't have 300 rolls. Probably chances are I'll have like 200 or 220 or 240 rolls, right? So that is the experience of saving for and playing the gacha part of Mihoyo games, right? And that's what everyone's used to. Now, Endfield, I think you can give it a lot of different criticisms for how complex it is. I mean, of course, once you read it through and you understand it properly, it's not like that. It's not like crazy complex. It's not like min-maxing your character complex. But it is just weird and different, and it has so many different rules and so many different unexpected things that I think it's a bit unreasonable. So I definitely criticize it for that. But let's compare the process of saving and playing the gacha in Zenless Zone Zero to playing the gacha of Endfield. So in Endfield, if you see a character and you're like, Levitain, I really, really want her. I really, really want her, and I really, really want her weapon. Well, maybe Levitain's a bad example. Let's choose a different character. Let's say Fang Yi, who's I don't know if she's coming up. I mean, we had a big date with her in Wuling, but I assuming Shuang Feng Li, whatever her name is, the crazy, what looks to be like Void Hunter tier character, leader of Wuling City, she's probably coming up in a patch or two. So let's say you really, really want her, right? Well, first of all you need to do is save 120. 120 rolls instead of 360 for Character Plus SIG, because there's no weapon banner in Endfield. Or at least there's no weapon banner that takes your character tickets or your character money. So you only have to save 120. And, like I said, we don't know what the roll economy is like. So let's just say 120, basically, let's just say it's a wash, and that's basically the same as 160 getting to 80 twice in other games. Let's just say it's a wash, right? So that's the same. But here's the thing. You don't have to split your rolls with the weapon banner. So once you've done rolling the character, you're going to get a bunch of currency. And I did a little bit of math, and I think the average amount of currency you're going to get from getting to 120, the 120 guarantee, assuming it takes all the way to the 120 guarantee, is going to be about 8,000. Actually, that's not the average, that's the minimum. That's assuming you only get the 80 pity, the 120 guarantee, the 5-star per 10 roll, and the rest are 4 stars. You get about 8,000 currency. Now, if we go to the weapon banner, you get 8,000 currency. You're going to need about 15,000 currency to get this. So you're going to get about half in the worst case scenario. So that means that if you're imagining the worst case scenario in Endfield, what you have to save is 120 rolls and about 8,000 or 7,000, let's say, about 7,000 or so of the weapon currency, because that is going to be it took you the most rolls to get the character. But other people have been complaining about what happens when you get the character on the first roll, for example. You get the character on the first roll, now you don't have any currency because you earn this currency from rolling the banners. Well, here's the thing with that. From the planning and strategy and playing the gacha perspective, all that means is that you save at least 120 character rolls, and then you just save 15,000 currency for the weapon banner. And now you're not planning for the horrible, terrible, painful, suffering situation of losing the 50-50, going all the way up to hard pity, then losing the 75-25 on the weapon, and then going all the way up to hard pity again, 320 roll nightmare experience, which, again, like I played Zenless since it came out, what's that, like a year or a year and a half? I don't know if it's 2 years yet. Something like that. That's happened at least twice to me, and it really fucking sucks. But in Endfield, all you have to do is save 120 rolls and 15,000 currency, which is not too hard to get, and then you turn the situation from, oh no, what if I lose every single 50-50 and have to go 300 rolls, into, oh, what if I get great luck and I get the character instantly? Well, as long as I save 15,000 points here for the weapon banner, I can parlay that awesome luck into awesome luck and I get the weapon. So from my perspective at least, the actual gameplay of the Endfield banner feels much better because I'm not planning for this horrible situation of needing 300 plus rolls just to get the character I want and the signature weapon. Instead, I'm planning for, I know I can get it at 120, which at least so far, unless we get like absolutely nothing, and the players will riot if that happens. So far, 120 looks completely reasonable to save for whichever waifu you want. Then all I need is to have 15,000 weapon currency sitting around, and I only need that if I get insanely lucky, which is a good thing. And then if I don't get insanely lucky, I'm going to have a bunch of currency from going to the 120 guarantee, and so I'm only going to spend like 7,000. I'm only going to need like 7,000. So from my perspective, the actual, ignoring the whole like, you know, what is the equivalence of how hard it is to get the rolls in both games and how hard it is in terms of currency number and roll number to get to the guarantees in Endfield versus Sailor's Endless. Ignoring that question for now, which by the way, I think ends up showing that Endfield is actually much more generous anyway. But ignoring that discussion, there's still this perspective of how does it feel to actually prepare your roles for the characters you want. And I vastly prefer the process in Endfield, because in Endfield, the situation that I'm planning for isn't the unhappy, horrible situation of going to 300 rolls, which has happened to me multiple times. It's the happy situation of getting the character crate straight away that I plan for, and then I just need to make sure I have some weapon currency on the side to make sure that getting the character early doesn't come with a dark lining on that silver cloud. You know, just turn it into a fully silver cloud by making sure you have 15,000 currency sitting around, right? And going back to the discussion of like, you know, how easy is it to get the stuff to begin with. So I said before at the start of the video, I rolled the free currency on this, and then I think I did another 10 roll because it was going to give me a free 5-star. And I thought, oh fuck it, I'll just do it. And what happens if I get, you know, if I get Levitain on 30th roll, that will be cool anyway. So I did that. So I've only done like 10 rolls, I think, on this thing that are not free rolls. So I've done the rolls that are going to run out if I don't roll on this banner. So I've done those. And other than that, I've just done a 10 roll. And I haven't gotten any 6 stars on this banner. I got a 6-star on the beginner banner, and I've gotten a couple 6 stars on this, so a little bit lucky. But, and I've done like over 100 rolls on this. And so going back to the weapon banner here, this 14,000 I have up in the top corner here, that's just from that. And I even rolled this banner twice to get this weapon for Last Rite, which was probably a mistake, but I got lucky because I got it within 2 or 3 rolls, I think. And I even bought a couple of these 5-star weapons for 400 points because I needed to have a good weapon for some of my 5 and 4-star support characters on the various teams I'm making. So I bought a couple of those. So really, the amount of currency I have total, if I didn't touch the weapon banners at all, would be, you know, plus another 4,000, so 18,000, plus maybe 1,200 or 800 or 1,200 on this as well, so maybe closing in on 20k, and that's just from the standard banner, plus the fact that you don't just get it from the standard banner, you also get it from some events, you also get it from the currency trade thing that you see here. The credit store sometimes has them in here, I think, or maybe it's a different spot. Oh no, yeah, see, it has it here, Arsenal ticket, there you go. So I had minus 75%, so it was 210 coins, and I got 20 from that. And so there are other ways to get it as well, if you really, really need it. And so, and of course, there is some paid ways as well. So from my perspective, Endfield not only, I think, will bear out to be much more friendly in terms of how much currency you get, how much versus how much we need, but not only is it more friendly that way, but I think it's also more friendly in the actual gameplay of the gacha part of the system. Because when I see a character that I really, really want, all I have to do is plan for the guarantee and then plan for the happy problem to have of getting the character early. Whereas in Zenless Zone Zero, if I see a character that's coming up in the next patch and I'm out of rolls because I just spent them all on Yeshunguan and I lost it, like I lost every single soft pity and had to spend like 300 rolls on her, well, I'm just fucked. And even if I'm not fucked, even if I can save all of that in time, it's still a shitty experience to like just sit there for so long, not rolling on 300 rolls to eventually get to the character, and then maybe I do win everything. Okay, that's great. I have 150 rolls left over that I didn't need to save. I could have used it on the previous banner on the character that I kind of wanted, but I skipped because I really needed the next character. Whereas in Endfield, it just feels so much better. I just saved the 120. I know I'm definitely getting the character then. And as long as I have 15,000 weapon tickets, then I'm definitely getting the weapon too. And I only need to use 15,000 tickets in the great scenario of getting lucky and getting the character early. So from my perspective, that is a fun problem to have. That is a fun problem to plan for. It's a fun problem to solve. And you don't have to worry about the horrible situation of rolling 300 times, which I think is shitty gameplay. It feels like shit to do that. So from my perspective, Endfield has a great gacha system, honestly, except for the bullshit complexity. And like, if people are going to say, well, it sucks that the 120 guarantee doesn't carry over, I mean, I still think overall it's more fair, so maybe it's not worth complaining about. But if people complain about it, and if they change it so that the 120 headhunting attempts carries over to the next banner, that would be great too. I would love that. The more generosity, the better. Like, I'm not going to complain about them giving us more shit, right? But I think just like comparing like rolls to rolls, this system is already both fairer, and I think the fair roll economy will prove to be in Enfield's favor, but also it just feels a lot better, I think. I think it just feels a lot better. And so I really think that there's been so many people who are saying it's shit, who are saying it's horrible for all these various reasons. And I would just beg those people to just think about what it's like saving up 300 plus rolls for a character in, say, Zenless or any other Mihoyo game. I think Wu is the same. I didn't play it, but I've heard that it's maybe a similar kind of gacha system, like maybe 80 or 90 rolls and then a 50-50. So, and then I think they also have a weapon banner, so maybe similar thing there. But either way, like, think about what it feels like to save up those 300 rolls, or alternatively, maybe you never saved up 300 rolls. Maybe you had like 200 or 250 rolls, and then you lost every single banner, and then you had to dip into like one of the money packs and spend like $30 or $60 to get that last little bit done. Think about what that feels like, and now imagine what it's going to feel like saving 120 rolls and 15,000 weapon tickets. And the only reason you need to save that much is because you might get crazy lucky and have a great outcome. And there's basically nothing you have to plan other than 100. The only thing you have to plan for the worst case scenario is 120 tickets and 7,000 or so weapon tickets. So think about those comparisons and think about which one you're going to enjoy more long term in terms of the actual process of saving currency. And I think you'll see that actually the Endfield system is much more enjoyable. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. Sorry it was rambly. Basically, I just wanted to say the actual gameplay in terms of the strategy you implement to save and roll for characters in Endfield is actually more fun, for me at least, and I think it's going to be more fun for most people than the Mihoyo games. Not to say they're like bad per se, but I mean, I don't like gacha in general. I wish gacha wasn't a thing, but given that it's a thing, and that I generally like playing them, I think Endfield has one of the better systems here, other than the fact that it's weirdly complex in its rule system. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Reda out. See you later. Bye bye.